Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Meredith. I am one of the Husqvarna Viking educators. I'm excited to have you here today. We are going to be creating some of these fun little pot holders, or even I made a little smaller one, a little mug rug. I have to give credit to Amy on my team. This was her idea that she did, and I was like, ooh, I want to do that as a live, go through the steps with everybody on it. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. So we're going to get right into it here in just a minute. Just a few things. If you have any questions, feel free to send that to Ryan and Amy. They are in the background and can answer, or they can either answer them or send them to me, and then I can get them answered live for you. If it's something we don't know, we'll look into it and figure it out for you. I think that's it. Don't click on any extra links, things like that. We're not asking for any personal information. If there's a product you're curious about, be sure to visit your local Husqvarna Viking dealer. They're your best resource for more information on these products and to purchase them. So if there's not anything else, we're going to get right into it. So we're going to start first. I'm going to switch over here. We're going to start first with piecing. So we have a couple different piecing feet. If you don't have one of them, I feel like most people have more than one of them at this point. I have 3 of them. I have one with the IDF right here, and it has a little opening for the IDF. And then this one also has this little metal flange. It's a guide, and I'm going to show you more about that. And it has a little bit of a wider circle hole so that you could do a scant 1/4 inch as well. And then I also have a clear 1/4 inch one. Again, oh, did I drop it? Hold on one second. Where'd it go? This one has just the normal circle opening, but it does have that guide flange also. And then I also have just the regular 1/4 inch one without the flange with a single hole also. So these are just 3 of many that we have. Actually, there's more than what I have here. So lots of options depending on what you're doing. Today, I'm going to be using, I'm going to switch over here to this camera. Today, I'm going to be using the one with the wider opening and the one with the flange and the IDF. So we're going to put that on there first. And you probably can see I've got this lovely magnifying lens here. I just love having it in front for piecing, things like that, when I'm doing those fine point sewing techniques. I did want to mention something because I've seen this come up in some conversations on social media. People aren't sure which size lens that they have in. So there's 3 different lenses that come with it in this lovely box here. There's 1, 2, and 3, and they are 1.25 times magnification, 1.5, and 2. So if you look right here, there's these 2 little lines. And so that doesn't correlate with the 2 times, but it correlates with the middle size. So if you look on this one here, this one has 1 line, and then this other one has 3. So that's how you know. So the one with 3 is obviously the biggest magnification. So just wanted to point that out because I have seen conversation about that going around. So let's get right into it. First, what we're going to do is we are going to do some piecing. And I'm just going to quickly do this for you guys and show you just some of my tips and tricks for just straight line piecing as we go. So I've got my first 2 pieces together. What I have here are 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. I had a mini charm pack, so I cut down, those are 5.5 by 5.5. So I cut those down to 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares, so I can get more out of it in that way. So they're all 2.5 inch squares. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my presser foot, and I'm going to line my fabric up with the metal flange right here, and I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to put my needle in the down position. I've got it up now, but I've got it engaged for down, so that when I stop sewing, because we're going to chain piece. So when I stop sewing, my needle stops in the down position. Then I'm going to put my next 2 pieces together. So I have, for the big one that I showed you, I have 5 rows of 5 is what I used. So I've already completed some of them just to keep this process going, but I wanted to do some with you guys today. So I've done my first 2. I didn't cut in between those. I chain pieced. And so if I was doing all 5 of them, I would have done 5 in a row before I cut. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top one, because I've laid out all of my squares sort of how I want them beforehand and then stack them up. So then I'm going to take this next one and just keep on piecing right here. Let me see if I can get that bottom lined up. So I have a question for y'all while I'm doing this. When you get pre-cuts, you notice that they have like this triangle serrated edge on them so that they don't fray. So my question is, do you line up the points of those? So like this one here, let me show you. Do you line up the points of these, or do you line up at the, at the bottom of the V when you're putting your piecing together? I feel like that's been a debate in my sewing group ladies that I have. Do you line up, let me show y'all. Do you line up your straight edge with the top of the point, or do you line it up with the bottom? So just curious what you guys do. We're gonna keep on going here. Get that so y'all can see. But as you can tell, I'm using the middle magnification, which is the 2.5, and it's really nice just to be able to see up close to my sewing when I'm doing it. So as I'm chain piecing, I've got these sewn together here, and we're gonna cut those here in just a minute. So I've got 2 more for each row we're gonna do here. And I apologize if you hear my dog barking. I live in Dallas, north of Dallas, and there is some little thunderstorms coming through, and he just does not do well with rain. So he was I call him my little COVID dog. We got him Christmas of 2020, and so I've been home ever since then, and that's all he knows. So when he can't be out here with me for a live, normally he's really good, but today he's going to be a little bit whiny because it's storming and he's scared. So I apologize now. So there's 4 of our rows here. And then in just a second, once I get these last 2 on, I'm going to talk with you about pressing and which way you should press, things like that. And again, my way is not the be all of be all end all things. So keep that in mind. It's just the way that I have found that works best for me. And then 1 more here. And line them up. And I love that I have this guide on here. So when I'm showing this to you guys, I'm sort of off to the side because of how my camera is. And so the fact that I can just focus on making sure my fabric is lined up with this metal flange, I don't have to worry about it being out of order or anything like that. So next, I've got this nifty little tool. I don't know if everybody hasn't seen it or whatever. You can get it at your local quilt store. But you put an old, this is a great way to use those old rotary blades that you have, and you just cut your chain pieces. I think it's like so satisfying once you've got them all done and you just snip, snip, snip and go along and do that. So we have our 2 pieces here. We are gonna switch over to this camera over here. Let's talk about pressing for a minute. So I have already done a few of them here. I have this one, and then I have 2 that are already sewn together. So on these, on one of them, I went one way completely, and then on the next row, I went the opposite direction. And when we put these 2 rows, or when we put all of the rows together, you'll see why I do it that way. So this next one, I have it going, the seams go to this is my right. So this next one I'm going to show for you guys is going to go to the left. So we want it to go this way. And when you are piecing things, or when you're pressing things, you're not really going to iron things. You're not going to sit here and do this. You just want to really just press, and then lift it up. And then we're going to do this next one here too. And same thing. I'm just pushing my seams away. Just like that. So if I flip these over, you'll see that my seams go in different directions. And see, I got that one up there. And this is going to be really beneficial when we get ready to sew them all together. So now they are like that. Okay, now we're going to go back over here and sew all of these together. So some of my little tips for keeping things straight and lined up. So this is my next row here, and this is the one below it I'm going to have. And we're going to fold these right sides together just like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find these first 2 seams. You don't want to start sewing right here at the end, because if I were to line these up, my seams right here in the middle, let me show you. would not line up. They wouldn't sandwich together. You see that little gap right there? So, got a couple questions. 1 second. One person said to line up the top of the points. Okay. They line up in the valley. Okay, so it's a mixed review on lining it up in the valley or the top of the peaks. So I sort of do whatever works when I put them together. So getting back to this, the reason we pressed our seams different ways is so that let me cut some of these threads here to get them out of the way for you, so y'all can see, is so that they sort of sandwich into each other, our seams here, just like that. And then I'm going to take a pin and pin right in there, and then I'm going to work all the way across, lining up my little pieces. And you can feel it within there that they are sandwiched together. If they overlap, you're going to feel, you'll tell the difference. When you've done it enough times, you'll be able to tell the difference. Oh man, look at this, y'all. This is not going to be good right here. I don't know what this again as my weird angle here. So we're just going to go with it. I'm just going to be off for a minute. Let me line up this last one. I'm going to line up this one here. And I'm putting a pin. When I put the pins in, I put it through this top fold, and then I make sure it comes back out the underside fold. I'm not doing it in the same fold, if that makes sense. I'm catching both to keep them in place. Let's see if we can shimmy this one and make this one work a little bit for us. Again, this is just a hot pad. It's not a big deal, but so there we go. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to piece these all the way down. And when you do this, you want to make sure that the reason we pinned it the way we did also is so that this underside one that is flipped backwards does not get pushed back open when I get to it. So we're going to stop. And when I stop, again, my needle's in the down position, so my presser foot raises up some. I'm stopping in the seam of the underside one so that I can pull this pin out and it doesn't separate my two pieces from being connected there. And again, same thing here. This is my one. You can see right here, I've got a little bit of a loop because I missed my seam here. But we're going to ease it in and make it work. Let me get this needle. Keep on going here. And when you get down here at the end, I just make sure that my corners are lined up before I keep on going here. Just like that. And then we're going to cut that one. Okay, hold on 1 second, y'all. I think I have a new setup, so bear with me. I'm going to get my hair out of the way because I think it's hitting the mic and y'all are getting some feedback, so I don't want y'all to have that. Okay, so once we look at these and open these up, you notice how my seams sandwich into each other perfectly. This one here is the one that I was a little off on here, so that one's obviously not going to be right, but look right there. They all line up right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, this was the top one I already had finished, and I'm going to, let me see if I backed up a little bit. I'm going to put these guys right sides together, and we're going to do that same thing. So put those together there and use a pin. I get to the point sometimes where once I put my pin in my first one, your other ones should naturally fall into place, but things do happen. Life happens. And things aren't always perfect, and that's okay. So we just make it work. And one of my good friends, my good sewing friends, she says, don't worry about it. It'll quilt out. Once you put it on the long arm or you do quilting on it, it all quilts out. Nobody's going to see those mistakes. So that's what I keep in the back of my head when I'm doing this. Maybe a little bit closer and put this guy back around this time so y'all can see. So again, I've got my points lined up here. And does that make sense why I say not to just automatically line up your edges? Because sometimes your seams will not necessarily line up at the end, but they will in your cross seams. So I like when my top seam folds back and my bottom seam folds under, because I know for sure my under one's going to be right. And then I can stop and make sure that my top one is not flipped up, and I can push it back underneath the foot before I go over it and keep those nice flat seams. I can't control a lot of things in life, but I love that I can control this in a way. So there we go. And we're getting to the end. So we're going to line this up here. Make sure that that's going under and not getting pushed back up under our foot. And here's a good example right here of why we don't line up. I don't know if you, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Of why you don't necessarily line up the fabric with the corner with corner, because you will have a little bit of a distance there sometimes. So I'm going to go the rest of the way. There we go. We're going to cut that. Any questions? Everybody following along so far? All right, so there we go. And again, if we look, we did our middle seam on this one. I've got my 4 corners lined up perfectly right there. This is the one. Yeah, and even the one that I had done off a little bit, I ended up getting him lined up good too. So there we go. Perfect. And then we've got one more to sew on here. So we're going to do it this way. Oh, what is going on? Hold on, y'all. 1 second. What are we doing? Hold on, bear with me. I don't know what happened. Let's see. I hope y'all can still hear me. Is that better? Okay. So this is really strange because I had this guy was charging all morning long. I just unplugged it right before the live. So, okay. Amy, watch the mic. That one. I'm almost done with my iron and I'll switch these out. So let's do this real quick because then my iron, I can unplug that one and get my mic plugged in back to that one. Okay. So again, we're going to line up our seams here and you can feel where they are when they're lined up. And when they overlap, you can feel that they don't fall into place. It's kind of like a puzzle. And they just fall right into place when they are sandwiched in together the right way. So keep on going here. And 2 more. Here we go. All right. So there's not instructions for this, you guys, but they are very simple to do. Again, oh, and I pulled him out when I turned him. Again, my squares are 2.5 by 2.5, and you can buy like little mini charm packs. You can buy charm packs, cut them down. You can use your fabric stash that you have to cut that down. I mean, so many options. And I should not have put my pins the way I have it because now they're going backwards. But we're going to make it work for this one. And just pull them a little bit early. So this finish is going to be 5 squares by 5 squares. So 2.5 by 2.5. And you could do strips. You could do, there's lots of different options you could do. Make it very scrappy. Lots of options. All right, there we go. And I'm going to hit my thread cutter. Okay, let's go back over here and iron these out. So I'd already done my seams, press them each way and whatnot. And honestly, for these seams, let me know what you guys do. Do you press your seams open? Do you press them to one side? For this, I'm going to press them open only because I think it's a little bit more bulky if they are pressed one way versus the other. So this just makes it just a little bit thinner. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to open up our seams here. Try not to burn myself. If y'all don't have one of these Singer irons with this fine tip on them, it makes this whole process so easy. When you're ironing around buttons, when you need to get in between these thin seams, when I do my 7-year-old his little shirts for church, to get around the buttons, get between them, I mean, this is great. So be sure to visit your local retailer too for those. They can show you those. And they come in different colors too. There's a really pretty pink one I like, but I really like this mint too. So here we go. Once we got all those seams pressed open, I'm just going to press the top just a little bit just to finish all that. And there we go, just like that. Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. I'm going to switch out a plug really quick to make sure I don't lose my mic on you guys. 1 second. Oh, come on. All right, here we go. Can y'all hear me now? I am so sorry. There we go. I'm not sure. I didn't unplug anything that was important. I just unplugged my iron, so I'm not sure what happened. I am so sorry, y'all. Thank you for bearing with me. We're going to switch back over here and keep on going. So I've got my 5 squares all sewn together. Now we're going to sandwich them together. So this is what we're going to make in the end, one of these little pot holders, or you could do a smaller one. For this one, I had Warm and Natural and Insel Bright on it, along with the backing. For these little mug rugs, I just did Warm and Natural in the middle of it because I knew it didn't matter as much there. So I already have my pieces cut here. I'm going to switch my mats. If y'all haven't seen our quilters kit, we have these awesome little mats that rotate that come with, I wanted to show y'all the 2 rulers, a rotary cutter, 2 sets of needles, and an extra set of blades too. So that's what we're going to use next. So I'm going to put down a piece of Warm and Natural here, and then my Insel Bright. I'm actually going to switch that because I want this next. Like that. Then we're going to put our quilt sandwich we have here. And then we're going to put our backing. And we're going to put our backing right side down because what we're going to do, we're going to end up flipping this right side out once we're done. So I'm going to grab my Frixion pin here. And we have our circular templates. And you could do this with the hearts. You could do this with the flowers. You could do this with the circles. There's so many with the original circular attachment. You could do this with those. So many options. We're going to do another flower one today. So for this one, I did now I got to think about it. What size did I do? Because I want to make sure I do the same size that I had on here. I think it was a 22. Let's see. Yes, I did the 22 for the bigger one. So I'm going to take my Frixion pin here and line up, kind of center it as best I can here, and draw my circle or mark my little circles here. And this one here, and this one, and this one. All right, and then we also need to get these markings here. So D and C, make sure I got everything. So I've got all those here. So I've got B over here, A over here, D and C. There we go. I hope y'all can see those good there. All right, so then what we're going to do, we're going to take this over to our machine and attach our circular attachment and keep going. So Next, I'm going to take this guy off, and I'm going to leave my 1/4 inch piecing foot on. You could switch to the A foot, the B foot, anything like that. I'm just going to leave this one on, and I have my IDF engaged in the back also. Because I have this thickness of my quilt sandwich here, I'm just going to leave that engaged there. So let's put our circular attachment on, and it's going to go into these 2 holes here, the little prongs. You're going to put one side in and then push the other side in, and it's going to click into place. Then you have this little guide over here. Let me back it up so you can see here. We're going to move that all the way over to 22. We want the arrow lined up. I don't know if you can see that very well. We want the arrow lined up with 22, not the pinhole. And then what we are going to do, I love that inside of this, it comes with these awesome instructions. So if you ever forget which way to start when you're going, you can always refer back to the instructions. So we are going to start here in D. Let me raise my presser foot up here. We're going to put our pin all the way through all of those layers and right in there. And then we're going to find our top point right here. I'm going to lower my needle down and just like that. And then I'm going to use a reinforced stitch. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to flip this thing right side out. So I just want, Amy, I'm not sure when you did yours if you did the reinforced stitch, but I just found that it helped a little bit when I was doing that. So let's get this thread out of the way. There we go. All right, so we're going to go from here to here, and it's going to pivot on this point over here. And I'm going to make sure that this is staying smooth as I go. And that IDF in the back is making sure that all of my pieces are staying sandwiched together as it's moving. So then we're going to move that, and we are going to go to the A point now over here. Put our pin in, and we're going to come up to this next little flower point. We're going to go all the way to our point and stop. One more. Okay. And y'all are probably thinking in your head or yelling at your phone or your screen, why didn't she draw her lines? And the reason I did not draw my lines is because on this machine, I have my little laser guide. So I'm not sure if y'all can see that very well right here. I have a laser guide I'm pointing to my A point. So I just use that guide. You can definitely draw a line if you choose to do that. That's no problem at all. I just like to use that laser guide. And honestly, most of the time I forget. I get around to that point and I'm like, shoot, I didn't do my laser guide yet. I didn't draw my line. So I just use that laser guide. Now we're going to put our pin in that center hole. I believe it's like a 0 or a circle. And we're going to do the big loop that goes all the way back around to B. Turn that laser off. Keep on going. And the 5x5 squares, it gives me just enough space without losing any of it or missing any of it. So we're going to come all the way up to this V point that you're going to see here in just a minute. There's that V coming around the corner. There we go. And here's where you're doing something a little bit different than what you would have done with the normal circular attachments when you finish it. So I'm gonna turn my laser on just so I know that I'm lined up with my point that I've got back here. My point's right here. And I'm gonna stitch out probably about 1 inch, and then I'm gonna stop. Probably about right there, and then I'm gonna hit the fix, start, stop, and cut. And then, because this is gonna be where our opening is, then I'm gonna start probably about right here where my laser doesn't reach to, and keep going. Just like that, one more. Okay, then we're gonna put our pin in our B point and put that back in there. And we're going to connect that point down to the D now. And again, we're just making sure all of this sort of is staying smooth as possible. I'm still good. Did I miss a point? I think I missed a point actually, you guys. I forgot this point right here. So I'm thinking I'm about lined up. I'm probably actually a little bit past it. So we're just going to stop right here. And then we're going to put C. Let's see. Yep, I went too far. We're just going to make this one work. Let me go back a little bit here. Let's see. And I can always take those stitches out. Let's get C. There we go. C should be lined up now. There we go. Come on, where's the underneath? There you go. Oh, I thought I had it. Got it. There we go. Okay, turn that laser off. And then I'm going to meet up over here. Hopefully it's going to line up pretty close. Right there. Perfect. And then we're going to cut that. Oh, and you know what? Y'all are screaming at me now because I should not have done that. You don't use the cutter when you are using the circular attachment. Because of where those prongs are, that cutter goes across on them. So it actually did cut it, but you should not use the cutter. What is the size backing of the fabric? So if it was, let me do the math in my head really quick. So it's about 10.5 by 10.5 is my square size here for my backing, for my batting, and then for my insole bright. Because when I did all of those squares together, that gave me 5 by 5 squares. So let's switch back over here. And we are going to use the rotary cutter that came with it. And here's our opening that we had where we started and stopped over here. And we're just going to cut roughly 1/4 inch around. And I can turn with my mat. I don't have to like pick up my project. I can just turn. I need to move it now so I can see. Just like that. And then keep on going. Y'all, I am so sorry. I'm not really sure what his problem is. The rain has stopped. We're not storming anymore. So this is a little tidbit trick that I have here. I'm not going to cut right along this right here. I'm not sure where I learned this at. I learned it somewhere along the way. So I'm going to go right to where I started and stopped right here. And I'm going to cut straight off just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to, where I started and stopped right here, I'm going to start there. And then I'm going to keep cutting around. And I'm going to show you why I did that here in a second. I get it. We're going to keep on going. And then what also we're going to do is we are going to, let me find my little scissors over here. Hopefully these ones will work. We are going to snip all the way around. And that is so that when you turn it, your little curve here will fold out evenly and it won't be like tight or puckered or anything like that. So we're going to go all the way around. I'm going as fast as I can here because I'm sure y'all don't want to watch me do this. You want to see what it looks like all opened up. And then when I get to these points, what I do is I sort of cut in at an angle and then I cut this one in at an angle also. Again, just be careful not to cut your threads so that you have that little point. And you don't have that bulk when you turn it, and it will easily give you that nice point from your flower. When you get to these inside points, I'm just going to cut a straight line into the center there. All the way around. Same thing here. Cut my little V out. Just like that. I'm going to keep on going. Right there, and you can see that's where my stitching is there, so I'm going to have to take those stitches out when I turn it around. And almost there. Come on. There it goes. Okay. So the reason I left this the way I did, first off, I want to cut off this excess Insulbrite and batting. I don't need that. I just cut that close. I'm going to top stitch around anyway, so it's going to be held in place. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to cut this off. So what I do normally, man, I got that real. Now I'm worried I might have not gotten it. I didn't line that up very well there. So normally what you would do is you would be able to fold your backing and your front piece. Let me get my little ironing board over here. Maybe I've got a little bit of heat left in my iron. Because when you get ready to, or once you've turned it, you're going to have to fold this under anyway. And I always struggle with getting this folded under smoothly. So what I do before I even turn it is I press the two pieces inward. Let's see if I can get a little bit of heat there. Yeah. Press them inward so that they're already where they're supposed to be when I flip it right side out. So let's see there. You could definitely serge around the edge. I have not done points or anything like this before. I'm going to switch to me. I have not done points on a serge in that way, but you could definitely serge it if you wanted to. So we're going to turn it through that hole right side out and just go slow. I did do the reinforced stitch, so I shouldn't break any of my stitches. But if you just do a regular straight stitch, that's fine also. You could back stitch and then forward, and that'll sort of lock it into place. So your stitches at that opening seam won't open as easily. So let's see. And it takes a little bit of time because it's not a huge opening. Just work with it, slowly pushing it through, pulling it out. Let me switch over here. Y'all can watch me do this. So this is what I've got so far. So I'm just slowly, and then once you get to a good point, it'll just pop right through like that. There we go. And you can put your fingers in here and push out around the curve, or we have this awesome stiletto. This is probably a little too sharp for my points over here. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to find something not as sharp. Let's see. I'm going to use these little scissors. Yep, and I did miss it, y'all. But we're going to make it work. Let's see. We're going to push out over here. And same thing. And I'm just using the end of those scissors. They're not super pointy to help me push out those seams there, or the points in the top of our flower. There you go, just like that. And that's where I did my extra. So that's where I went over a little bit. So we're gonna cut these threads with my seam ripper here. Just like that. So make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Hope that y'all are following along well and that I've given clear instructions. Okay. Maybe one more. Come on. Almost there. Okay. There we go. And then it just fell right into point there. Just like that. And then we're going to press this all the way around. Just like that. And again, remember I mentioned that we had already pressed that under, so I already have my line pressed under there. And then this one, I'm going to have to go back through it and fix this one, but we're going to catch it right there. Just like that. And then we're going to top stitch all the way around this. So let's go back over here. This is one of the reasons why I left the 1/4 inch piecing foot on. I'm going to take my circular attachment off first, is so that I can use it as my guide when I go around. So I'm just going to 1/4 inch top stitch all the way around this. Give me 1 second. Let me get this thread out. Let me cut him. Where's my little scissors? Okay. So, and we can close up our opening that we had as well. So we're going to raise our presser foot up, put it right under here. I'm going to switch back to just a regular straight stitch, not my reinforced stitch. And we're just going to keep going. So this is where my opening was, right here. And I have my little stiletto. I'm going to see if I can fold that corner under and hold it. We're going to go up to our corner, stop there. And again, I've got my needle in the down position, so my presser foot raised, but my needle is holding my position and I can move my fabric. I love this. Oh. Just like that. We're just going to keep on going all the way around. And so this is just top stitching it down. There we go. Another thing you could do that I was thinking about is you could put the top piece with all of the squares that you've done, put that along with the insole bright and the batting, and you could quilt lines along this to have that quilted effect prior to putting the whole thing together. You could quilt through the entire thing if you wanted to. I just don't know that I would want the quilting on the back side of this. So there we go, all the way around. Get that there. And I'm going to overlap where I started just a little bit. Reverse it. And then it's going to cut. There we go. And you could add a little, Amy and I had this debate before we even started. I said, hey, Amy, did you have a hanger or anything on it to hang? And she's like, no, we just put our hot pads in the drawer. And I use hot pads and oven mitts, like the little clampy ones, for the same things. So I would probably put a little hook on this and hang it next to my oven and have it out during the season. So are there any other questions, y'all? I don't normally wrap up this quick. I'm kind of surprised. We are done a little early today. If there's something else you would like to see, I do have some extra scraps and things around. I could probably create a whole nother one of these with you guys really quick too. Again, my small one that I have here, he was 4x4, so 4 squares by 4 squares. And same thing I did, I measured my template at 14. I know for sure I did 14 on this one. So that's the size to give you this little, and it's perfect for a little mug, a little coffee cup, anything like that. It's great little gifts. You could do a couple of them. You could monogram them. So many different options there. So if there's not any other, would you add any decorative stitches on this? You could definitely add some decorative stitching, and that could be your quilting as you go if you wanted to. You could do a zigzag across your seams. I mean, there's so many things you could do. You could do all one piece of fabric instead of patchwork like this and do a big monogram on it. Or 4th of July, you could do, if you did the circle one, we've got the circle templates in the original circular attachment. You could do a circle pot holder, add a 4th of July design, add a monogram, so many different options there. You could definitely just do a piece of fabric with different decorative stitches on it. So many options. If you guys make them, we would love to see them. Feel free to tag us or share it with us. We love to see what you guys create and are inspired by. All right. Well, if there's not anything else, Amy, if you want to tell me when the next lives are. Let's see. Yes, I can go over the order of fabric again. So piecing it together, I've got 5 squares by 5 squares, and these were 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. So you can get a mini charm pack. You can get a charm pack and cut it in half and in half again. That's what I did for this one. I had a charm pack that I just cut in half and cut in half to get all my little squares. So 5 by 5, and then this one's 4 by 4. You could definitely go up one more. There's one more size you could do. I did a 22 for this one. You could do a 26. So I would definitely do a 6 by 6. 6 by 6 squares if you wanted to do the bigger one, but I think this is a good size. So you piece all of those together, press them whichever direction you want to go, and then you put insole bright down, then you have your warm and natural down, then you put your top fabric, your quilted piece, right side up, then you put your backing piece right side down on top of this. And we go through the process of the flower stitch, and then we start and stop on that B side where you've got your straight line with your laser guide or wherever you drew it, and you leave like a 2 to 3 inch opening right there for that. So I hope that made sense there. Our next HV Live is going to be Wednesday, July 5th at 2 p.m. Central. This is with Kathy Fromm, who will be helping you create pieces to organize your travel. I'm actually really excited about this. She talks about a few bags, some different things to help you with your summer travels, gifts you can make to give to people as you travel, things like that also. And then our next My Sewnet Facebook Live is Wednesday, July 12th at 2 p.m. Central, and it's with me. And we are going to be creating the In the Hoop zipper pouch, but using the word sculpt shapes. So I'm really excited about it. I've got a fun little summer popsicle that I'm going to do that I've done a little spin on. I'm really excited. So I hope that you guys can join us for those as well. So if there's not any other questions, again, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. If you have any other questions afterwards, feel free to come back in here. We answer these questions for a while afterwards. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.